So Sharesies has just dropped a bit of a bombshell today that they will be changing quite a bit of their fee structure on the 31st of January in 2023. So there's quite a few changes. So I'll be going through most of them and comparing them with the previous fee structure to see what has actually changed. So the first major change here is the transaction fee. The transaction fee for individual buy, sell, and auto-invest orders for US, New Zealand, and Australian shares have gone up to 1.9% compared to 0.5% previously, although the 1.9% is up to a capped amount, which means that when you're over a certain amount, you won't get charged anymore. So these are per transaction, and this is related to the shares that you buy and not the managed funds. So first off, let's take a look at the US shares. So the US shares is capped at $5 per order, which means that the transaction fee is no more than $5 for any amount that's invested over $264. But when compared to the previous fee, which is 0.5% transaction fee, you can invest up to $1,000 and it'll cost the same $5 in terms of transaction fees. Secondly, let's look at the New Zealand shares. So under the new fee structure, it is capped at 25 New Zealand dollars per order, which means that the transaction fee is no more than 25 New Zealand dollars for any amount that's invested above about 1,300 New Zealand dollars. But when compared to the previous fee structure, for the New Zealand shares, for 25 New Zealand dollars transaction fee, you can actually purchase up to 13,000 New Zealand dollars worth of shares. So this is a massive difference in terms of fees. So the fees, under the new fee structure, it is significantly more expensive to purchase New Zealand shares. So let's look at the Australian shares. So for Australian shares, it's capped at 15 Australian dollars per order, which means that the transaction fee cannot go over 15 Australian dollars for the amount that's invested above 790 Australian dollars. But compared to the previous transaction fee, which again is 0.5%, for 0.5%, you can invest up to 3,000 Australian dollars and still be charged the 15 Australian dollars transaction fee. So just using a quick example as comparison, under the new fee structure, buying $500 worth of US shares would cost you $5, whereas previously you can buy $1,000 worth of US shares. Under the new fee structure, buying $3,000 worth of New Zealand shares would cost you a transaction fee of 25 New Zealand dollars, whereas previously it would have cost only 15 New Zealand dollars. So again, the new fee structure is more expensive than the previous fee structure. And the same thing occurs with the Australian shares. On the flip side, they decided to also bring back monthly plans, which they have phased out previously. So there's three different types of monthly plan. There's the $3 monthly plan, the $7 monthly plan, and the $15 monthly plan. So for the $3 monthly plan, you'll get transaction fees covered up to 500 New Zealand dollars worth of transaction, whereas previously for $3, you'd be covered up to 600 New Zealand dollars worth of transactions. For the $7 monthly plan, you are covered up to 1,000 New Zealand dollars of transactions, whereas under the previous fee structure, you are covered up to 1,400 New Zealand dollars worth of transactions. For the $15 monthly plan, you are covered up to 5,000 New Zealand dollars worth of transactions, whereas previously under the previous fee structure, you're covered up to $3,000 worth. So this is probably the only monthly plan that's actually more economical compared to the previous fee structure. and it also includes New Zealand market depth data. However, with this $15 monthly plan, you need to be quite a regular investor to be able to make it worthwhile for you. Additionally, under the new plan, the kids account are charged at $1 per month, whereas previously kids account were free. Now, $1 account fee is probably not that much, but again, compared to where it was free previously, it's still a difference. So here's how Sharesies compare with some of the other investment platforms. So for buying New Zealand shares, Sharesies is probably still the cheapest one compared to many of the other platforms. But when purchasing US shares, Sharesies is probably quite a bit more expensive, especially if you're investing in like a medium amount around $500 to $1,000 compared to some of the other platforms out there. They will also be increasing their currency exchange fee from 0.4% to 0.5% when it comes to currency exchange. And there is also an account closure fee of 15 New Zealand dollars and a share transfer fee of $15. Okay, so what does this all mean for your everyday investors? So with Sharesies' previous announcement of them having a Sharesies Kiwi Saver, it is my personal belief that they are moving towards a more managed fund model rather than focusing on just retail investors. This is a real shame because the premise of Sharesies, when it was first launched, it was built on the promise of bringing investors to everyday Kiwis. Now it's looking likely that they're looking to increase revenue and potentially going public and more moving towards being a KiwiSaver provider and more of a managed fund model, which again is a bit different from their original idea of bringing investing to everyone. In terms of purchasing New Zealand shares, they're probably one of the cheapest options out there still. But in terms of purchasing international shares, especially US shares, there are potentially other better platforms compared to Sharesies. So I have reviews on a few of those. So if you want to check those out, I'll leave some links in the description below. And I will see you next time.